The Suzuka circuit is 3.6 miles around. It is a fabulous track. The drivers, to a man, love it.
Well, Monte Carlo, maybe the race is the most famous, but if a driver wins here in Japan, he really feels he's achieved something.
Let's have a closer look at the track now with our Acura analysis and David Hobbs.
About 190 miles an hour into a very tricky turn one. Very fast entry, double apex, then it really tightens up towards the end, and then we come into this amazing set of S's. The road just moves left, right, left. Now we're climbing all the way through here as well. A lot of elevation change at this track. Then this long turn 7 as we go up the hill here. These are the two Denga curves, the two double right-hander, no camber to help you at all, going downhill, no grip. Very difficult, very easy to go off there. We've seen a lot of people going off this weekend. Into the hairpin, the slowest corner here on the track. As we come out of here, you can see the sun getting low, which it will do later on in the race. This right-hander here is always a very difficult one. I think it goes on and on. It's a multiple apex. The road goes up and down, and then finally over that little crest, you come into this spoon curve. Very important to get this one right, because when you leave here on full throttle, you got 16 seconds of full throttle up this hill, about 190 miles an hour as they come into one of the most famous corners in racing, the 130R, this flat-out left-hander. Again, no camber to help you. Into the chicane. See a lot of overtaking going here. Again, a right, left, right chicane. Now we're starting to go downhill, back onto the front straightaway. And there you have 18 turns, 3.6 miles, a very tough and demanding track.
It's time to turn to our starting grid for today's race. Wilso, trying to come forward from the last row of the grid after his problems in qualifying, was mystified while his teammate was on the front row. He did not know where the speed went. Qualifying, these cars were lapping at about 1 minute 30 seconds.
7th on the grid after that performance in qualifying.
In 6th position.
Faceman in 5th.
Yeah, you guys were going through the grid there. I was looking at the tyre choice up and down the pit lane. All runners on the soft, dry weather slick tyre.
In 2nd place. Hear the crowd in the background. In pole position.
Here come the lights. Turn up the volume for the Japanese Grand Prix.
The lights go out and the Japanese Grand Prix is go! And it is go! And it's away. A very, very quick start indeed. And trouble.
We missed it. Probably
There was a contact.
coming up in a replay in a minute.
Enormous crowd.
Oh, this is going to those S's.
And joining me today in the commentary box, 2 former world champions, Jackie Stewart and James Hunt. Comment, Jackie Stewart.
We see a great battle here.
And it'll take a little while to get the tyres up to race temperature.
That was a good charge. There was a little bit of caution there as he went through the first couple of corners. Got a problem around one of those hairpins we saw just now.
There's the puff of smoke. His rear wheel locks up and he's lost control of the car. He goes onto the outfield, spins it right the way through.
Long double apex spoon curve that caused so many drivers problems in practice.
Very, very hard on tyres around here. One thing we have learned, guys, already about these tyres is you have to be careful not to overdrive and push the tyres too much in the first 2 or 3 laps, because that will destroy the degradation rate on the tyres.
Here comes the chicane for the first time.
So they're all on a very steep learning curve. They put the tyres on in the start of the season and then have to try and understand how to get them to work with the chassis.
Well, here we're now going to have a look at the start again. The exciting one is on the back right a bit in the Ferrari.
He just bobbed down a little bit there. Look at him go streaking down. Tries to stop anybody else going down his inside.
All in the same picture. There they are, the top 3.
The overhead shot. Let's have a look at some change of positions midfield.
He stalled the car in the lane.
Let's watch this.
And here we look at the first lap accident. Oh, they're doing a side-by-side job. Oh,
Pushed a little bit wide off the track.
Let's have a look again. He's really charging. Almost banging wheels.
Nobody touched him, he got wide, his tyres were cold, and then ultimately went off.
it's a very ambitious spot to have a go. Tremendous strain of cars. This is the midfield battle. There was some wheels on the outside there. It was fortuitous that it worked out.
In replay,
The two dang the curves, a two double right-hander.
Red Bull are on a charge after Lotus.
He backs off. Into the hairpin.
Let's have another look at that incident.
Now that is a classic example of overcooking things. He was hard on the brakes, and his tyres smoked. He lost his line.
Here he goes around.
It's just too fast there.
over onto the grass.
And we're watching that because he started to gain ground.
Now almost in the slipstream. He's not quite close enough.
I think you're now going to see a situation where, first of all, the cars that we're looking at right here are going to be in a very competitive situation, particularly for the man who's in the car in the middle of this sandwich.
Oh, a little bit of a twitch there.
Stick.
Boy coming into contact.
Uh-oh, little problem at the back.
Whoa! Boy, that looks a bit hairy, isn't it?
Yes, this extremely fast pace has caused havoc.
Back live.
And we are now on the second lap. The rev limiter starts to operate.
So they really are pushing these tyres to the limit. Tyre
Tyres
management is going to be absolutely critical. You can't just set fast slap and wreck the tyres. That ain't going to last long.
Wiltso pushed
Stick boy right onto the grass.
Yeah, at one time these guys got on very well together. Now I'm not so sure. Let's listen to team radio.
That was a great start. We're in a really good position now. Let's try and pull away from the Lotus behind.
It's like somebody put a wheel off.
Yeah.
And somebody has gone off.
Well, he got a bit wide.
Runs very wide again. And it spins.
Very uncharacteristic there.
And he has beached it.
A little over-exuberance by a young driver. He was sitting there in position. He stalled his engine.
I hope he hasn't stalled the engine.
But he did his best to hang on. You saw him get off the line, and it was just eking out.
Oh, this could all end in tears.
Whoa! Ooh!
No, I'm already committed. I'm coming through.
Wow! Look at that.
And the crowd rise. Something's happening. There are yellow flags waving.
Tire smoke everywhere.
Are they hit?
With nowhere really to go.
Whoa! Whoa!
Wow.
Covering the left-hand side of the track, just piles into the back of the tank.
No doubt we will see a replay.
Yeah, I think there must have been a little bit more action that we didn't see because
think
that
there's a lot
camera
of that.
shot, that camera change was not quite what we had in mind.
I don't think he'd go like that. That was weaving on the straight.
Shows him his nose a little bit, but he's not going to pass there.
And here we look at the accident.
Well, he got a bit wide out of the 130R.
And he spun into one of those barriers.
Tire smoke everywhere.
You can't see it. There he is.
Oh, wow. Boy, that was not a small hit.
This is a bit of a coming together with somebody.
As all the Italians here will be who are watching the Ferrari, that his suspension was not deranged by that coming together.
Back live.
Into lap 3. Now he's right behind them and setting about him. This race is going to be a commentator's nightmare. He's chasing very hard.
Went a little bit wide on the marbles.
What an incredible recovery. And now spinning off. So I spoke a bit too soon in being so laudatory.
And he skated off the circuit, he kept his foot in it.
In 10th place, the Faceman moves up
Past Stick boy.
and there are a few guys who can push the way Faceman can.
Into the hairpin.
But it would seem that the beak of the chicken is pushing its way through the shell now.
And look at that traffic ahead.
Well, this could all end up in a very large pile of fiberglass.
Fiberglass? Where's the fiberglass? Carbon fiber.
This is the battle now. Behind the Scarlet Ferrari.
It'll be an interesting challenge.
It's very aggressive.
There they have a little cut, a little bumping and things.
Off the track.
Goes wide there, then into the grass.
Goes past him.
Going into the 130R.
They did very well to hold that.
He's going through the field like a hot knife through butter. He's up to 7th position behind his teammate.
Is probably holding him up. I think if he could get by him, I think he would drive away. He put his wheel just a hair over, got it on that wet grass.
Yeah. Watch the gap close as fast as you like.
Understeering a bit there.
And off he goes.
Right behind him.
And this is the challenge.
So look at that, something inside.
Well, I think lost concentration a bit, led him through.
Just to give him the team heart failure.
He's famous for his ability to fight his way through traffic. To 3rd position.
Third position.
Going into the 130R.
And there you saw the Ferrari running wide.
What an incredible recovery.
Seconds ahead of his teammate.
Pulling away now. And just look at the way that the Ferrari strides away.
Trying to brake with your left side wheels on the grass just does not work.
Yeah, very lucky.
Up in 5th place.
The Dogman absolutely is cometh.
He's starting a charge.
Side by side there.
Yes, it is.
Ooh.
And now spinning off. He's now up into 5th position.
Uh-oh, little problem at the back. Whoops, off and on.
Whoa! Contact. Did you see the way that we got out of shape there? And he's lost control of the car.
Wow, boy, that was not a small hit.
Nearly lost his whole front end there.
That's a retirement, I think, coming up for the Ferrari.
The first retirement in Japan. Runs very wide again.
Oh, wow!
Very lucky.
This is the fencing with a brilliant bit of driving. He goes round the left-hander.
Runs a little bit wide and manages, quite fortunate to be able to nip back in. Keeps it all together though.
Down through the final chicane, you see the pit entry onto the right after the final chicane. That entry has been moved over the last couple of years. It used to be much further back, down onto the straight.
On lap 6 now. And that was 11 seconds according to my stopwatch. Say spins! Oh, hear the crowd roar! They're delighted!
And he has beached it.
What happened? He just lost it there.
He's back on the road and that, well...
Team radio.
Your radio is not working. Your radio is not working. Use the button. Use pit confirm or the tyre button.
They were, you know, today, I mean, the engineers from every team were definitely scratching their heads yesterday. These new compound of tyres have been very, very critical to temperature. As I say, yesterday, just 2 degrees drop on track temperature, and it absolutely caught the whole field out in Q3. Afterwards, pretty much every engineer up and down the pit lane was saying exactly the same thing. We have no idea what happened to the performance of the tyres. The temperature on the track changed just 2 degrees Celsius, dropped down to 22 degrees Celsius from 24, and took a couple of tenths out of the car.
Right-hand wheels on the curb. They did very well to hold that slide.
Well, of course, one of the reasons why the Lotus is probably so quick in a straight line is probably because they've got less downforce, maybe kind of a bit less wing.
Yeah.
working lap number 7.
I'm looking down the track now to see what the gap is. It's increasing. It's over 5 seconds now.
And of course this track, you know, all these turns, the S's, these corners here, they're absolutely tailor-made for the wonderful chassis. Great aero drag coefficient and ratio of drag to downforce. Very good mechanical grip. Just a fantastic car, and this is a track that really brings the best out of it.
Back to the two Lotus teammates.
Still got that front end oscillation over some of those bumps going into and out of the 130 arc.
We're now serving lap 8.
Lotus a snap spin.
And thank heaven, what an incredible recovery.
Has fallen now 8 seconds behind.
And his tyres are starting to go off just slightly.
He's got an ominous band on that left front.
Yeah. Well, you got to get him warm, and you do it relatively quickly, but at the same time, you've got to be very careful you don't get him warmed up too quick.
Yeah, you're right, David. One of the foibles of the design this year. You have to be very careful with the warm-up period. You're exactly right.
He obviously went a little bit wide.
And James, nobody knows better than you do. What do you think of this car?
Well, I think the car's obviously a great improvement on their own, on the previous car that they've just superseded. It's going a steady race. There's no great fireworks from it, but it's obviously a big improvement on their form generally in the season. And I think driving a very steady race, he's staying fairly close. Who incidentally is still slowly catching the Ferraris.
And again, because of the diffuser modifications being banned from last year to this, we talked about it yesterday that the cars have lost something like 25% of the rear downforce on the car. Now, yeah, we know that the aerodynamicists are brilliant in Formula One and they will claw a lot of that back, but it'll take time. But that is one of the reasons why the rear of these cars are looking so unstable relative to last year.
Back with the leader. Is starting to lap people now. Who tucks into his slipstream. Comes out of a slipstream.
Goes past him.
And somebody has gone off. It's a Ferrari, I can tell you that.
Goes wide here. See, got wide there, trying to go around.
Oh, be careful there.
Boy, that's a brave move.
Lotus are on a charge after Red Bull.
Oh,
someone spun.
But it certainly did work to the advantage of Team Lotus. A little earlier on, we were worrying about the tyre degradation, Red Bull versus Lotus, and wondering whether or not the performance would be taking away performance from the tyres. Yeah, he was doing a stellar job out there on those tyres and making those tyres work.
But rejoins. How about that?
It's incredible.
And the worry is whether he's flat-spotted those tires with that big bin.
Behind you, very close. Okay, like that, like that.
Lotus are on a charge.
Whether he will give him the space is another matter.
Comes out of a slipstream.
Certainly throws the block here.
I mean, it's certainly okay. It's perfectly okay to race, but don't do anything stupid. Yikes. Yikes is right.
Got it all wrong and lost 2 places. But ding dong, Are we going to see a race now?
Let's have another look at it now. This might show it better.
Right behind him.
Down through the final chicane, all over the gearbox.
He was ideally placed to get a toe faster on the straight.
Comes out of a slipstream.
But see, that was a fairly gentlemanly block.
Yeah, well, it was only one move, I'd have to say, and he was going down towards the inside of that racing line, but we'll see what the steward's decision of that is.
Just loses it and off safely.
Let's have a look. This will show it.
Out of the slipstream. And he moves over.
Pushed a little bit wide.
But he did leave a space.
Control under braking.
Very close together.
A little bit of a twitch there.
Oh well, fortunes of Ward. Back live. He runs in third place.
He must be feeling in tremendous form.
I take my hat off because this is in deep pressure.
And there is great news for British enthusiasts.
He's got to get a penalty for that, hasn't he? He's got to get a penalty for that.
Who's going to get a penalty for what?
Well, it was only one move, I'd have to say. And
Oh, and off he goes.
Here comes Faceman.
The Ferrari goes by.
That's for fifth. Getting back to that incident, the stewards have enormous resources at their disposal to make these adjudications. They'll be rolling the video back and forth, listening to the team radio transmissions with the drivers. What does it mean that they're going to investigate after the race? Well, if there is going to be a penalty, it will come at the next round.
if nothing else, that radio transmission has certainly made the stewards aware, and that's good psychological work.
This is lap 11.
The gap now 2 seconds.
Wilson off the track. If the stewards take a dim view of this and choose to penalize, you'll have to wonder why he did it.
Nobody'd be able to overtake anybody because you'd think, well, I'll just keep driving to the edge of the road and he's got nowhere to go but off the road. So that would be a terrible precedent to set.
You should be a steward, David. Absolutely. Submit your application now.
Sixth position now into the pits. The first major tyre stop.
Whoa, hold on, lad. Not very happy with his power steering, apparently.
There's our Mobile One leaderboard.
Let's have a look at some change of positions midfield.
Now, let's watch very carefully.
He was pulsating the revs earlier this season, and if you recall, he stalled the car in the pit lane and he did not floor it when he left. And the idea is to keep them at least 3,000, which is the idle speed, and then put the pedal to the metal all the way when you leave the pit stops to give the engine a good clearance out.
And that was a super pit stop.
Going into the 130R.
Tremendously fast here.
In sixth place, obviously not where Hartman wants to be.
Just loses it and spins off.
Lighting up the tires
Wow,
all
that
over the
was
road
close.
to Will Buxton.
Yeah, or more frustratingly, Bob, they could decide to impose a 20-second penalty in lieu of a drive-through after the race, which means the result of this race won't actually stand. I kind of understand because you've got to speak to the drivers in something like this, but come on, the stewards are there for a reason. Make a decision or don't. Let's have a proper result to the race, not one that changes 2 hours afterwards.
And somebody has gone off on the hairpin. It's a Ferrari, I can tell you that.
It's very frustrating for Team Lotus.
Whoa! Ooh!
Switching again. Now, I wonder if his tyres are getting near the end of their life. Other people have been in already.
And he moves over like a gentleman.
The stewards announced moments ago that there would be no further action taken.
The rules are the rules are the rules.
Oh, what happened there?
No.
A bobble? I think he just went wide.
Oh, it must have.
Did he come across one of those big chunks of tire?
Now he's got to regain that lost ground. That would be a problem for him. Gather himself up and try and mount another attack.
We haven't forgotten the leader, don't worry.
He's in seventh.
His teammate off. Got past his teammate while he's in sixth now.
Fourth in the pit.
Predicted time was around lap 13 to 14, but the incredible pace of the first 10 laps has just brought these pit stops further forward as the tyre degradation has increased. Remember, it is very abrasive, the tarmac around here.
Fourth and fifth are in the pit.
Pit stop delta, the time needed to come into the pits, change tyres, get out and not lose your position, is around 35 seconds.
Let's watch this and see what happens. Front right on, front left on, and away. He stopped.
That's just what you don't want.
It's a very slow stop.
Yeah.
A lot of dust being thrown up off those tyres.
And he sprints out.
But he falls in behind.
And you can see by the body language of the mechanics that they are absolutely furious.
Second place into the pits.
Move over, there is a driver behind you who is going faster and has the right to pass.
Oh, wow.
The Ferrari goes by.
First drive in this season and a terrible Grand Prix for him. The race leader coming into the pits for what could be an absolutely critical pit stop.
That'll get her
That's
stopped.
what you call a locker. Technical term, I know, but
Liquid rubber everywhere.
yeah.
We are into the pit lane now with race leader.
Now, let's watch very carefully.
Steady, boys. Take your time.
Whoa. Hold on, lad.
We see a great battle here.
Well, that looks a bit hairy, isn't it?
Notice the twitch of the car and he's chasing very hard. A new leader there.
Becomes the leader for the moment. I'm sure he'll be interchanged pretty soon.
Oh, somebody spun! The Ferrari goes by.
He made an error of judgment while we were watching the great tussle that's going on, but now it certainly is having trouble.
So Dr. Man is cometh.
Pretty close now. Into that tight hairpin.
Two-time GP2 champion getting a second bite of the apple in Formula One with the Lotus team after starting in '09. And right now he's showing he belongs. Very aggressive.
They come down into that spoon curve.
And that is trouble.
Able to recover it and get back.
Off the road. That is one of the Ferraris going out sort of mowing or parking. I couldn't see which one it was.
He's now running fourth.
And into the pits now to change cars.
He's in seventh.
And here he goes down into turn one.
Current race leader into the pits for his first stop.
You're going to see a change for the lead very shortly. Back with the lead.
Whoa, into the grass.
As Will told us in that nice piece earlier, just about every team has come with some form of upgrade, whether it be front wing, rear wing, with ducting. Ferrari is one of those teams. They're admitting that they've had major wind tunnel problems with calibration, and they're going to do something about that. Meanwhile, trying to develop and improve this car week in, week out.
And you got it right wrong, absolutely losing it in reverse through into the gravel pit.
Is plunging backwards in this field.
Thinking has tripped himself up.
Was immediately on the radio to his pits.
We're going to get damage, right? We're going to get damage, follow.
Understood.
Complaining of damage on the car, I believe, guys.
Has spun and stalled. He's not going to be able to restart the car. This is yes, he is.
His weekend is just going from bad to worse.
Oh,
And dives straight into the pits. Well, it happened at the best place. If you're going to have damage, that's the place you want to do it, right at pit in.
In 5th place.
15 laps complete, working at number 16.
He politely moves over. I'm looking down the track now to see what the gap is. Well, there you can see the gap.
Put a wheel off.
Oh, up!
Oh, wow. Boy, that was not a small hit.
With his engine full of dust.
Wilso gets out on the gray, on the marbles, and just cannot keep the Ferrari on the road.
Back.
Wow.
Up into 6th position.
Man pulls to a stop with some mechanical problem, it appears. Wait for radio traffic, but nothing.
Okay, I'm losing my rear guys. Out of the race.
Wow. They all seem to be up and they all seem to be on.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, absolutely gutting, particularly because they were the guys who came up with this concept of the attached wheel nut in Formula One. We always thought there would be a problem with them cross-threading at some point and the team not being able to do anything about it because those nuts are attached to the wheel rims. But surprising it should happen, they've been working with those for over a year now.
And he's all over the gearbox of the Red Bull. Look at this.
Oh. That he got a bit wide.
Back with the leader.
Leading the race on his own, lapping one of the back markers.
Well up now amongst the tail enders. And he's off.
He may have remembered the previous incident going into that very corner.
Just chasing him. He going into those S's.
Tire smoke everywhere.
I think he's been abusing those tyres.
Is he going to be dropping back now with tyre problems, Jackie's good?
It's really been a race of mixes here, a race of tyres more than anything else, because the tyres certainly have not been able to stand up to the enormous adhesion they've been getting on this super fast circuit and warm temperatures here today, and it could easily be here that they could in fact be getting into a major problem.
He moves over, he knows his manners.
Team radio.
We checked everything at the stop and we've looked at the footage. Everything looks okay. Could just be the tyre pressures. Hopefully it'll get better. Keep doing what you can.
Liberty has that flapping rear wing end plate.
Just to give a little bit of clarity on that, yes, we can see damage on the wing, but we are looking at downforce loads across the car on the push rods, and we can see that the wing is still producing downforce. So as far as downforce production, it's okay, but clearly we can see damage to the end plate.
Who's lurking in third spot there.
Now he's right behind the second place man and setting about him.
Currently second.
An amazing job considering second-year driver, and recall last year he had that savage accident at Monaco, spearing the tire wall coming out of the tunnel, kept him out of the car for the following race in Canada. It just has not dented his courage one bit.
Oh, a little bit of a twitch there.
Move over, sunshine! The preventive passing was by pushing him off the circuit. Again closes the door, and I think we may see a bit of Italian fist shaking, not without justification.
Maybe you're going to see another crash right now coming up, and there you see him going on the outside of the racetrack.
And he skated off the circuit straight over the gravel.
He made the advantage after this incident ahead of him.
And is now up to 7th position.
We're on lap 51 now.
Down to 1 second.
It's pretty close now. Had a very lurid incident right at the opening laps of the race, but has since fought his way back and is now up to 3rd spot there.
And there are a lot of people who are saying that the yellow, intimidating colour of that Ferrari attracts people's attention when they see it coming up in the red Ferrari. He must be feeling in tremendous form.
He really is a man of tremendous determination.
A little earlier on, we were worrying about the tyre degradation and wondering whether or not the performance would be taken away, performance from the tyres in the closing laps. Listen to this radio.
Hal's got worse deg than us. You will catch him.
The gap is coming down. The question is now, pit stops. When is it going to happen? Again, it's going to be tyre degradation is going to lead this strategy.
Those front tyres look very degraded to me on that shot.
Yeah.
There's our Mobile One leaderboard. Now you can join the conversation with other Formula One fans in the F1 Social Garage. It's at speed.com. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're all out there tweeting. We may even answer your question during Formula One Debrief. I mentioned during our Mercedes-Benz pre-race show that supposedly we are trending number 3 in the country. Hashtag SpeedF1. We want to be number 1. So David Hobbs is tweeting his little thumbs off. You do as well.
Yeah.
David, put down that phone. No tweeting when we're on.
I was absolutely just going to mention that.
Has methodically clawed down the gap between himself and the second place man into the hairpin.
We begin the second half of the Japanese Formula One Grand Prix.
Japan loves Formula One, there's no question of that. And Ferrari are a great make and a great brand in Formula One. There's a lot of support, and Ferrari would dearly love to win the Japanese Grand Prix. Of course. There is no question Ferrari have tremendous support in Japan. To the crowd now, it really won't matter which of these teams and drivers wins, because they're all so well supported in Japan.
They all love the speed shows too. They don't think much of Steve Matchett, but they like Bob and I and Will very much. But
is obviously in a position to threaten.
Got a little bit of a slap from the hole in the air, from the toe.
He's going to have a go. Can he do it? No, he can't. It's just too fast there. He's going to be a little upset, in fact, because I think he feels now that he was clamping him there on the way through. He almost had the pass.
You know, we talk all the time about this guy or that guy being hard to pass. I assume it's a necessary driver skill to make yourself difficult to pass, to defend, as it were.
absolutely it is, yeah. I mean, and of course the thing to do is to not do it the old Schumacher way, swerving from side to side to side. You just make the whole car very wide all the time.
And in sixth position now.
It's obviously not where face man wants to be.
Goes wide there, gets onto the flag, then into the grass.
They both nipped by.
Fifth position. Into the pits.
This is going to be a stellar battle.
And this may look pretty static to you, this battle for second position, and it is static, to be absolutely pedantic about it.
In the pits from fifth.
So this is the important one. Will he get out ahead or behind him?
Sprints out of the pits.
He's just in the distance. There he is there.
Down the side of the racetrack on the grass, and what on earth is he doing? And clearly either a bit too much beer there, or he's hit his head on something, because he's not being sensible at all.
He may have remembered the previous incident going into that very corner.
Well, battles all over the place.
Yeah.
Notice the twitch of the car, and he's chasing very hard.
Now, I'm going to try and keep us honest on timing and scoring in the degradation on these tyres. I'm not seeing any purple sector times being set on this lap, which is an indication that perhaps we're already starting to see the degradation affecting these soft tyres.
And the problem, of course, is how can you possibly get past on a circuit like this?
Let's watch this and see what happens.
Now almost in the fifth field. He's not quite close enough. He's getting close.
Trying to get close, trying to get the toe.
He's perfectly placed for the toe down the straight. He's got a nice free car length. Let's see if he can slingshot up. But I think he's going to go through.
Wheel to wheel for the position.
Overtaking going into the 130R. Yeah, he bobbled.
You have to risk doing that if you're going to pass somebody. He wasn't going to do anything spectacular in the race if he didn't fight his way past.
And the Ferrari mechanics are all in the pit lane in a tyre-changing mode.
Has pitted for the second time.
This is the race within the race at the moment. The battle for second place is taking quite a long time to get this close to it.
It is shaping up to be an absolutely stellar battle up the top.
Lap 25.
Whoa! Big slide there.
In sixth position. Contact.
You'll pick up a lot of stones driving through the gravel trap there.
And your cars have no grip for sometimes as much as 2 or 3 laps after that.
And that is the fifth place man.
Got a little bit of a slap from the hole in the air, from the toe.
Now he's right behind the second place man and setting about him.
Put a wheel off.
Yeah. Very lucky.
Right behind him.
And he's showed in the nose a little bit.
He runs very wide again.
He is also pushing to push his car for mechanical failure or even to run out of petrol.
Is obviously in a position to threaten.
It's looking like this now or never.
When we get on the front straightaway, there they are.
Out of the slipstream. he will be getting turbulence from the rear wing.
They got very close if they didn't start. Control under braking.
And it's been a roaring battle for some laps now.
Boy, oh boy, I tell you what, these two guys, they're knocking each other apart, but of course, are they in fact slowing each other up?
Well, meanwhile, from fourth, driving a rejuvenated Ferrari. There's no question about that. The pace has certainly come on in the last two races.
Oh, and off he goes.
It looks to me as if it was a mistake of inexperience. It looks as if he just got a bit offline. But your tyres pick up a lot of that stuff and it gets stuck to the hot, very sticky rubber. And your tyres have no grip for sometimes as much as 2 or 3 laps after that. Quite apart from the risk of having an accident getting offline, it also slows you down quite a lot.
He's being held up. No, he's not. Wow! Now things are really, really getting hot in Japan.
All over the road.
He backs off.
Let's listen to team radio.
I hit the barrier. I hit the barrier.
Oh,
what happened there?
No.
A bobble? Or
No,
something more serious?
Something's gone wrong.
Oh, I don't see any damage on the car.
I think he just went wide.
Oh, it must have.
Did he come across one of those big chunks of tire?
And the gap has increased now.
It is now 1.7 seconds. This is just awesome. If anybody wants to know, in my case, why I get excited by Formula One, it is a race like this. It is just fantastic to see this unfold.
He's continuing to harry, push, push, push.
Now watch this young man. He's going to give him a real push.
Putting on a brilliant display here.
And it's still a demonstration run.
Absolutely, David, I've got to say, this is an incredible drive.
It is.
Absolutely incredible.
It's going like a scalded cat.
A young man with a great Grand Prix future in front of him.
And just when he needed an even greater surge of energy at the end of this race, unfortunately, it looks to me as if he just about used up. He must be really drained from that chase and unable to draw on any further reserve.
Absolutely don't count them out yet. Of course, we've also got to factor in potential unreliability of any of these cars in the closing laps.
Yep.
I think we're seeing a real chess game play out here.
This Grand Prix is turning out to be really something.
1.2 seconds between.
This is the best scrap in the leading places that we've had all season, no doubt about it.
And a bit of a mistake in the pits or a slight off and you're done for. You're chopped liver.
Has closed right up.
Whoa, big lock up there.
Lap 28, which, unless I'm very much mistaken, is half the distance. And yes, I am very much mistaken. We are not quite at the halfway point of the race. Well, we are now, actually.
To go for his tyres now, because remember, that's where in the second half of the race the track has become softer.
Whoa! Tire smoke everywhere.
And the Ferrari mechanics are all in the pit lane in a tyre changing mode.
So, second position into the pits for what could be an absolutely critical pit stop.
Well, the mechanics must be really sweaty. They know that the Grand Prix is going to be decided by them on current form. Race leader on lap 29.
Now, almost got the right pace for it. Whether he can keep it up for those last laps that we're about to see is another matter.
position into the pits. So the tyre changes are fast and furious now.
Well, there it is, boys. That's, again, a reaction. The engineers looking at the tyres and predicting how far they can push it. As you rightly said earlier on, Lee, one of the drivers that can really do a good job at preserving the tyres. Yeah, it has been very, very hard on tyres around here.
And I think we're going to see a lot of people coming in for tires. No.
And is he going to run his tyres off? It's going to be difficult for him to maintain that sort of pace in that chassis. Need tyres like they need oxygen.
We are into the pit lane now with race leader for what could be an absolutely critical pit stop. And he's coming in for a very rapid tyre change. Let's watch this and see what happens. A new leader then.
Becomes the leader for the moment. I'm sure he'll be interchanged pretty soon.
Up to his pit team. Front right on, front left on, and away he goes. Super stop. Why aren't we looking at him? Here he is. My goodness, he must have heard me. And he sprints out, having made a good change. Fifth position is the man who is closest to the man in front of him at the present moment. He's a very gifted man mechanically, and he's one of the nicest men in motor racing.
Those tyres must be a bit of a question mark.
Yeah. Team radio.
We need to get to the end of the race on this set of tyres.
Oh, good luck with that.
We managed to what? Finish
Go
the
to
race.
the end of the race on these tires.
Well, we just saw it on the stars. There's no way they're going to do to the end of this race, another 17 laps.
Rear tyres. Even though I have massive unders there, still struggling with the rear tyres. High speed.
Okay, understand that? We are looking at plan B. We are looking at plan B.
The significance of that radio is saying I'm suffering from oversteer, which is the rear of the car becoming loose and stepping out at the back, but even allowing for that, I'm suffering from massive understeer as well. So the front of the car is giving up on him. That means you turn into the corner here, but the car effectively wants to carry straight on. That's understeer for you.
The race leader coming into the pits, an absolutely critical pit stop.
Left side tyres on this car, both the front and the rear, and they look to be marking up a bit. But of course, it's a very, very abrasive track.
Under goes the jack, the hydraulic jack lifts the front of it, so there are mechanics on new retail.
To the lead at the other Ferrari.
You heard his engineers saying we've got to get energy into the front of the car. You've got to get the sidewalls warm. You've got to get the canvas warm. They are right up against it.
Back to third position on lap 30. Change for second place. Out of the pits.
There's our Mobile One leaderboard. We'll take a break and return. No, I'm
What?
just messing with you.
We are going nowhere. Do not move.
Oh, somebody dared me. What can I say?
There is no change for the first 6 places. This Grand Prix is turning out to be really something. Back with the leader.
Fuel mixture free, save fuel, save as much fuel as you can. Save as much fuel as you can.
And if he was worried about fuel, he certainly would have cut his use of the engine a bit more. I don't think he could be in any fuel trouble, because if he was, he would have slowed up more than that, because he put in a very quick lap.
In fourth place. He politely moves over.
let's listen to team radio.
This is looking like plan B, plan B.
Yeah, we don't know what plan B is.
All we know is they are changing.
Yeah, I think what these guys are doing are reacting to tyre wear, wondering whether or not to change strategy from 3 to 2 stop or from 2 to 3 stop. They're looking at the tyre wear post the first stop and then try and figure out how far they can push the tyres.
And that is the 5th place man. He looks as though he's starting to catch 4th position. Up to the chicane again. Only 10 seconds behind him. Well up now amongst the tail enders. He moves over, he knows his manners.
If he can put in a series of very fast laps now, depending on his track position, if he has open track, this is the time when he's got to really push prior to his stop. Lap 33.
And there's a big, big gap.
Oh, somebody
spun.
Watch the way an ace Formula One driver deals with the slower men in front of him.
I think it's just the master at work. This type of driving of precision, he's the master at.
So, in 2nd position.
They're about half a minute behind.
Blue flags on for cars behind, they're not for you.
Goes wide there, gets onto the flag, then into the grass.
But he holds on to 2nd position after the recovery, and the team cannot believe it.
I bet they can't.
Runs very wide again. And off he goes.
Oh, wow. Boy, that was not a small hit.
Let's have a look under replay.
And he skated off the circuit, he kept his foot in it. The wide tires enabled him to ride straight over the gravel.
Gets out on the gray, on the marbles, and just cannot keep the Ferrari on.
Wow. But wow, that could have been a very big moment. Well, it was fairly big as it was.
If your name is
How
Nick,
big do you want it to be?
We've seen so many drivers do exactly
Well,
that.
of course, the idea is, of course, you arc the corner, you just try and use every inch of road going in and going out. If you just misjudge it a hair, put that wheel on the grass, that's what does it.
5th position.
It is lap 34.
It was 2 seconds. It is now down to 1.7 seconds.
And that is trouble. And it spins. And slam bang into the wall.
Oh, damage to the nose, and he has beached it. Team radio.
You've lost hydraulics, you've lost hydraulics.
That's the retirement, I think, coming up for the Ferrari.
Box. You're going to retire the car, retire the car, retire the car.
So that's his race over for today.
Was in the points, so he's out of them now. very much so. So there are 3 retirements.
Meanwhile, Gorson's leading this race. We've kind of forgotten him, driving like a man possessed.
With the advantage of new rubber, is absolutely flying.
Moves over and gives way, as he should do, but they don't always do.
It is a tremendous relief when you see your pursuer get stuck in behind and put it back on between you and your pursuer, as happened at the end of the straight before.
Again, having done fastest lap, as you could see.
I just illustrated there, guys, while you were talking.
And into the pit now to change cars. Goes through into 3rd position.
I'm sure he'll be able to change pretty soon.
Well, all of a sudden, the race, which had become slightly static, has burst into flame. So, in 2nd position.
Yeah, we saw about 0.5, half a second to 0.75 of a second drop off in the last 2 or 3 laps. So this is the teams responding to what we're seeing on timing and scoring.
Yes,
He's got to get off those tyres.
Goes wide there, into the grass.
Oh, hear the crowd roar! What happened? He just lost it there.
We'll know at this point that his chances really are over. But he won't give up. He's going to give it his absolute best. He'll do the best thing he possibly can, and that's charge, try and make every single lap of the remainder of this race faster than the lap before.
But to keep this pressure on is a great virtue to recognise after this race is over, and I sincerely hope he's able to do this.
And the Lotus mechanics are all in the pit lane in a tyre changing mode.
Driver drives his absolute you-know-what's off for 10 laps, and you can lose all that time in a pit stop.
Well, the mechanics must be really sweaty.
Into the pits, having his boots changed.
So this is the important one. Will he get out ahead or behind him?
Let's watch this and see what happens.
Now let's look at this stop. So wheel stop.
The pneumatic hammers go on. The wheel nuts are undone. That notice being held out is to remind him to keep the brake on. Whoa. The mechanics are clear. The wheels are changed.
And he sprints out, having made a good change.
Got it. Got out ahead of it. I was just saying that was a very fast pit stop, and there it is. It was close, but he's got him. The mechanics getting their job done.
With the joyful Lotus people in the background.
Well done, the Lotus team. A very good effort indeed.
Now takes the opportunity of lapping to close right up.
And of course, he's now come upon the real problem for the first time, because he's got this mobile chicane in the fall of the red Ferrari in front of him.
He's being held up. No, he's not. He politely moves over.
Well, it's so difficult for these slow guys. I mean, they got a lot. Watch the mirror like a hawk.
Long double apex spoon curve.
No, closes the door.
Whoa, this could all end in tears.
And off he goes.
Taking risks with backmasters, for which he's been criticised so long, finally tripped himself up.
The problem is now whether he can stand the pressure that's going to come right now.
That would be a problem for him. Gather himself up and try and mount another attack.
Lap 37.
Now 4 seconds behind him. No, he's not out of sight. He can still catch him, but he's going to have to work very hard.
Who had problems getting the setup of his car right in the warm-up, seems to have worked the oracle.
But come the race, the car is extremely well balanced and set up. It's operating beautifully.
They want to try and keep the attitude very stable. And
yeah, well, the car seems to be pretty quick, and it looks terrible, but it seems to get the job done.
Yeah.
The margin is 2.9 seconds.
It's now certainly starting to close in.
Team radio.
Be careful, we need this position, we need this position. Just lifted his huge tyres. Remember what we talked about, take it easy if you can, please.
Right-hand wheels on the curb.
What happened? He just lost it there.
And here he comes. Wow, that was close.
That was very close.
It was indeed.
And here you see the mistake. Well, he'd made the mistake at that point.
And he skated off the circuit. He kept his foot in it.
Boy, he slashed across the front of him there.
Yeah, terrific manoeuvre that.
And it's certainly okay. It's perfectly okay to race, but don't do anything stupid.
Back to live action. If you're with us, we go for the Grand Prix. You know that these two had quite an adventuresome weekend in each other's proximity.
Just loses it and spins off safely.
And he has beached it.
He'll pick up a lot of stones driving through the gravel trap now.
I think he's been abusing those tyres.
So his tyres can't be that bad. It's those hair-raising moments like that, of course, that can really ruin your day. And now he'll never catch up in the turn left.
Never say never.
Never say never, that's true.
Anything can happen in Formula One, and it usually does.
He's got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
He knows exactly what he is doing. He will be getting pit signals from the board as he goes past. He's in constant contact by radio with his pit. They will be calling the times out to him.
They're on lap 39.
Says Fitz into one of those barriers.
He's fine. Okay, Timo, keep going. He's fine. He's stuck. Push.
He should be able to get past. And here he comes.
Yeah, I have a feeling these guys are very, very happy. I think they've just dodged a bullet there. That's for third, guys.
Is something happening? Do you suspect?
He has a problem. You're seeing a man in trouble right there. Whether his tyres are going off, Murray, or whether it's a mechanical problem, he may have made an error of judgment while we were watching the great tussle, but now certainly is having trouble.
7 laps to go in the Japanese Formula One Grand Prix.
Back with the leader.
I hesitate to use my phrase, nothing can stop him now, because it is something just right, but it seems very unlikely. He's in a beautiful rhythm. He's driving well within himself. If anything was going to have gone wrong with the car, it would surely have gone wrong by now.
It will extend his lead in the World Championship. Of course, well and truly on his way. The race virtually won, unless he has trouble. And that could happen, often has in the closing stages of a Grand Prix.
He got wide, he back came round, and he got on the marbles, he lost grip, and then ultimately went off.
Into lap 40, still ahead by 5.5 seconds.
Just a bit wide there on. Whoa!
Just loses it and into one of those barriers.
Quite honestly, that was a self-inflicted error.
Is that damage on the... No, I guess the front wing just looks like that. Those end plates.
This is just what.
It doesn't take much on these cars, does it? We know.
Hot on the tail.
In 5th place now, right behind.
And I'm sure all of these guys are thinking, yeah, I mean, in these closing laps, the cars are getting so close and tight to each other, we could have 2 or 3 of these off and out of the race in a heartbeat.
Front wing looks okay, keep pushing.
Yeah, if you didn't quite hear the radio transmitters, was saying we've got a lot of understeer on the car. Wondered whether or not his wing was damaged after that coming together. Just to give a little bit of clarity on that, yes, we can see damage on the wing, but we are looking at downforce loads across the car on the push rods, and we can see that the wing is still producing downforce. So as far as downforce production, it's okay, but clearly we can see damage to the end plate.
Working lap number 41.
2.2 seconds ahead.
Into the hairpin. And somebody has gone off on the hairpin. It's a Ferrari, I can tell you that, and moves up into 4th position.
Is plunging backwards in this field.
And onto the grass.
That is one of the Ferraris going out sort of blowing. I couldn't see which one it was.
Looks as though again he is being stricken by Van. And in 6th position,
There are yellow flags waving.
And the Ferrari goes by out of the spoon curve.
Trying to get close, trying to get the toe.
Su tucks into his slipstream. He backs off.
Not going to do it there, surely.
Out of 130R.
2 more laps, 2 more laps. This pace is good, you are still clear.
Little late on the binders.
He's locked up solid.
Oh, there's contact.
Oh, wow.
Rules of engagement, gentlemen.
Still waiting like a gentleman.
He fell through the field like a stone.
He lost 3 places in 2 laps right towards the end of the Grand Prix because the tyres just fell off the edge.
Perfectly placed on straight, getting a good toe behind the Ferrari.
The reigning drivers' champion up ahead of him.
Well, his body language says been a disappointment, and you can understand that.
Let's listen to team radio.
Front wing looks okay. Keep pushing. We need to get through.
That was a bit of a Freudian comment. We need to get through face man. He already tried that and he broke the front wing. What he wants to do is go around him.
Yes.
Over onto the grass.
Boy, that looked a bit hairy, didn't it? Oh boy, I'd love to be a bug on the wall in the debrief room in the Ferrari motorhome tonight.
They look as though they're going very slowly, and they are going very slowly. 30 miles an hour, but it's jolly quick if you're sitting round in a car going round.
So I really take my hat off to the young man. I'm sad for him.
No one ever said Formula 1 was going to be easy.
We haven't forgotten the leaders, don't worry.
There is the man of the hour as far as this Japanese crowd is concerned.
And I can remember no Grand Prix driver who's made a greater impression on me in his first season of Grand Prix racing.
And it's still the demonstration run.
For his age, he's extremely mature.
He almost went off, but was able to hold it on and minimise the damage.
And now can cruise home and short of trouble, cruise home to his Grand Prix win.
But it's going to be a victory. Of that there seems no doubt.
He's going to auction off the helmet he's wearing to raise money for tsunami relief. Somebody is going to buy that helmet, and it is a Grand Prix winner's helmet in Japan.
Well done, mate. Fantastic drive, fantastic. 2 in a row.
Thank you, guys. Wow.
Oh, and won it yet.
That's true.
On his way to the chicane.
Has driven a very heady weekend. He was fastest in practice 1, practice 2, practice 3.
Sees the checkered flag.
He takes the checkered flag.
Pole position in practice and wins the Grand Prix.
Wins here at Japan. He feels he's achieved something.
Behind him in second place.
He didn't do anything spectacular in the opening lap, but played himself in well, looked after his cars, and then from about 1/4 distance he started or a little bit earlier than that to apply the pressure slowly, relentlessly. By the time the routine pit stops had been made, he emerged.
He really is a man of tremendous determination. He's one of the smoothest drivers. Let's just watch him. He hardly ever touches a curb. He hardly ever uses more than the blank tar. He lets the car run into the corner very nicely. He has an ability to take the brakes off very easily before he gets to a corner.
Oh, someone spins. Is just going from bad to worse.
Takes the checkered flag to take second position.
Great effort, great effort. Go big spike, pick up rubber, and enjoy your inlet.
So after avoiding all that rubber debris out there, he's now going to grab as much as he can on those sticky, nice hot tires to make sure he passes the weigh-in.
This is the last lap of the Grand Prix. We're still waiting for whoever it is who's going to be third to come home.
Meanwhile, Will Buxton has to head off to the FIA interview area. We'll hear from the top 3 afterward, and Will questions them. Will, final thought before you go?
Yeah, just one final thought which I wanted to get in for this weekend is just how great it is to be racing here in Japan after everything that's gone on to this country over the course of this year with the natural disasters. And one lovely story to come out of this weekend is we were walking through the fan zone the other day and noticed some puppets that have been made, one of which of F1 Supremo Bernie Eccleston. It's the must-have piece of merchandise this weekend. Proceeds from the sale of all of those puppets have gone to the Japanese Red Cross, and Bernie himself actually bought 3,000 tickets for families affected by the tsunami at a personal cost of £1 million. So a really nice story here this weekend, and great for Japan to have such a fabulous event and such a great race.
Well said, Will.
What a gaggle behind. Tremendous train of cars. Marvellous drive, a race that was very hard on attrition.
He's been in the thick of it today, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has.
I mean, he was driving no harder than anybody else.
He's driven another fine race.
I think he's paced himself perfectly.
Tremendous stuff. That was a real do-or-die effort.
So Lotus on the podium, a big, big step for that team.
Boy, he'll be so happy with that, and rightly so.
Over the line now.
A great race. What a great race weekend this has been.
Let's check the results of the Japanese Grand Prix.
This year, if this is anything to go by, it looks as though we are going to be treated to a motor racing spectacle. What a marvellous prospect that holds out for us.
The results of this race numerically play a big role in who eventually wins the World Championship. And now Acura presents the Drivers' Championship standings.
Well, of course, we were saying at the beginning of the season, our pre-race show, before the race last week, that we thought this could be one of the best seasons ever.
And now Acura presents the constructor standing, Steve.
Wow, look at this. Red Bull
in 6th place.
With Lotus third.
Whatever you can say about the last few years, one thing does seem for sure. We do have a battle on our hands. This season's going to be just awesome. I can feel it in my bones.
But wow, Will is absolutely right, and you guys are absolutely right. We are in for a stellar season.